Imagine stepping up to every single shot you play and knowing exactly where the ball is going to go. Well, there's one thing in particular that's stopping you from doing this, and believe it or not, the golf club is lying to you. What you think is happening during the golf swing and what is actually happening are two completely different things. You may feel like your club face is perfectly square, but for some strange reason, you tend to get a mix of those slices, hooks with the occasional straight shot. The real reason, you may ask, most golfers move the club face during their golf swing incorrectly without even realizing it. But there is something that can fix all this. What if the club face could stay naturally, beautifully square for longer during your golf swing, your takeaway, backswing, downswing, all the way through to the finish? And that is exactly what this modern method does. And in just a moment, I'm going to show you a simple tip that makes this so easy to add to your golf swing. So stick around. So if you're a returning viewer, welcome back to the channel. And if you are new to the channel, I'm Harry, a golf teacher professional, posting simple golf tips just like this to help you play more consistent golf. So consider clicking that subscribe button if this video does help you. And why not drop a comment down below of a tip or drill you'd like to see me cover next. So if I was just to make my way into the backswing here and roll my hands and wrists over like this here, what we can clearly see is this is causing the club to go very much so on the inside. But what a lot of golfers don't realise this is actually doing is it's opening that club face as we make our way into the backswing. So somewhere during your golf swing, whether it's the top of the swing or all the way into the downswing, you've got to fight this angle and try and get that club face to come back to square. Now, to time that is very tricky, especially when we're swinging the golf club over 50 miles an hour. We usually tend to see the one where we jump out the way and we allow those hands to stay behind the club head at impact, or we see those ones where we wrap the hands over like so, and that causes that two-way miss. That's where you're getting those slices and hooks coming from. So the modern way I want to show you is how we can keep the club face squarer for longer, all the way to the backswing takeaway, working our way through to finish. And look at the difference here as I make my way into this first part of the golf swing. The hack motion number is totally different. This is just an example on the screen here, so taking a look at before, that was very much so extended, seeing this toe end of the club go behind the heel. The bad one, we get this cupping in the left wrist, the lead wrist, which causes that extended number. The good one, where we're controlling the club face a bit better, we actually see this flatter lead wrist position too, a little bit more favouring in the flex point. So when we actually take a look at that first part of the golf swing, the backswings, the takeaway in particular, we just want to be able to see a simple checkpoint for us as we do this movement is to see the toe end of the club overtaking, being ahead of that heel end. And for me to simply get into that position, it feels like as I'm taking the club back, I'm not really doing too much with my hands and wrists. I'm just allowing my arms and body to do this movement. And as we can see there, it starts to take the club head back more square as opposed to this roll effect and allowing the club face to open. So on the way back, for me, it feels like I'm just keeping my arms, hands nice and still, not really allowing them to do too much. I'm allowing my shoulders to tilt on this 45-degree angle in relation to my spine angle here, and just for me to do that, I'm just simply here getting my lead shoulder to work downwards towards the golf ball as my trail shoulder here, my right shoulder, begins to lift upwards. So as I do this movement here and allow this little bit of rotation as well to take place, to make sure I'm doing this right when I start to hit a few small shots doing this, I'm just going to close my eyes and try and get myself back into that position. And straight away I can feel that my right hand here is on top of the left, so my trail hand is being on top. That's keeping that club face nice and square. Toe end of the club is continuing to be ahead of the heel in relation to where the golf ball is, of course, all the way up to that second part, the P2 position of the golf swing, the takeaway point, where the club reaches parallel to the ground. Now, if we're doing this action here on the way back and we're focusing on using our body, our tilting action from our shoulders and the rotation from our body a little bit more, what do we need to do on the way through? Nothing. We don't need to do anything whatsoever with the arms and the wrists, because that's going to encourage them on the way through to roll over and close his club face down too much. We've got to allow this body now to rotate and for us to hold this angle that we've set on the way back to work our way through to the finish. And that's how we keep the club face squarer for longer. So as I take myself into that second part of the golf swing again, just making sure I get into that position there. As I make my way down, the feeling for me is allowing now this lead shoulder to work upwards as my lead hip begins to rotate round. And straight away, just zooming in from the side on view, look at the club face there. It looks quite open. It's still pointing relatively towards the sky. But if we were just to draw a line at that point there, on the leading edge of the club, so this part here again, and we just compare that to the line being drawn at this point here, they are both pretty much parallel to one another. So we are keeping the club face very much so square, no manipulation throughout that golf swing. So when you start trying a few shots with this, a very simple thought is simply trying to hit them 20 to 30 yards. I've got a 9-iron here just to begin with, and I'm rocking my shoulders up to that position. I'm allowing that little bit of rotation to get myself into position on the way through. I'm doing the opposite, but I'm keeping my arms, club, wrists nice and still. So hitting a few shots, doing this narrower stance, very similar to how you would set up to a chip shot, so maybe have the weight a little bit more on the lead side just to help with the compression and the strike. Just feeling that motion back and through like so. And you can see there, if we were just to replay that a couple of times in slow motion, you can see there how much more in control my body looks of what this club head is doing. And taking a look at where we were at the start, miles better position. None of this, just simply nice and square. Now there is one simple thing as well that you should be adding into your full swing that I haven't yet mentioned that's really, really important. A key that's going to help you manage this into your full golf swing. And once you've worked this into the golf swing, you're going to be wanting to take this onto the course and start to do some practice on there. Well, when you do this, I'd highly recommend checking out my course management guide. Very easy, simple to read to help you score lower out on the golf course. So the key to building this into full swings, the key in particular, is you remember before when I went into that first takeaway point, and as I practiced this a couple of times, trying to develop an understanding of what that movement feels like, I said one thing in particular: my trail hand is on top of my lead hand. My trail hand, my right hand in particular, stays on top of this lead hand here as I make my way into the backswing, not the lead hand on top of the trail. So as I make my way into this first part of the golf swing, I want you to think to make your way up to the top. We're adding this, we're continuing this rotation up to the top of the swing, continuing this motion here. I'm obviously allowing my right arm to fold naturally, but look at what my trail hand is doing here. It's making its way up to the top of the swing, just like this here. The difference, you may ask? Well, if we were to do it the wrong way and roll the wrists, and we make our way up to the top of the swing, look what happens. My trail arm wants to flare away from the body, and my wrist here, my trail wrist, is moving in this motion here, where we get this very much so dodgy, weird looking angle with my right wrist. The key, we want the trail wrist to stay on top at the takeaway. As we make our way into the backswing, we want the lead hand to rest on the trail hand. So watch what happens as I make my way into the backswing. So trail stays on top of lead. As we start to turn and wind up to the top, they level out, looking at the face-on view. As we work our way into the top of the swing, the lead hand's resting on this trail hand. So a very simple thought that you can have making your way up to the top of the golf swing is a great one I've taught a lot of my students. Is imagine you're a waiter, a posh waiter at a restaurant, and you're holding a set of plates at the top of the swing. You're holding onto your lead hand. So trail hand, right hand for right-handed golfers, left hand for left-handed golfers on the way back, staying on top of the left, then working away into the top of the swing, and the trail is holding on to that lead hand. And then as we make our way into the downswing, we're continuing that rotation, not allowing this club face to rotate over. To do this, we're turning on the way through, feeling that lead shoulder again working upwards as our left hip rotates round. No manipulation there of the arms and the wrists. And then from this point, we can just allow our arms to fold into the top of the finish position. Just practicing that move there, gradually then making my way into bigger swings until I get to the top of my swing, just checking that point there, and the same feel on the way through. A little bit of a pull to the left, but that was a really good strike. Feel for me there was keeping my eye on what that trail hand was doing. It was staying on top of the lead, holding on to the lead, and on the way through I was just turning the body all the way through to finish, just keeping this angle here throughout my golf swing. None of this manipulation taking place from my hands or arms or the wrists. So once you've given this tip a try, drop a comment down below to let me know what you think of this, and feel free to let me know what you would like to see next on the channel. This video has been brought to you today by GX Golf, who provide high quality golf gloves at a fraction of the price in comparison to their competitors on the market. You can use the code Harry10 to get yourself a great 10% discount. Really good high quality golf gloves. And I'll also leave the link to the course management guide in the description below as well. Make sure you check out this video over here, as YouTube believes this one is the perfect video for you to watch next.